The film opens by showing a residential area where several chickens are seen in front of a house. The house is isolated from the city and quite far from a major area. Then we see a woman named Ramona, whose leg is severely injured. She no longer lives with her husband because he has passed away. Ramona is awakened by her eldest child, Taylor, who informs her that the electricity in the house has completely gone out. Besides Taylor, Ramona also has another child named Annie. The three of them live alone in a rather large and spacious house. Very early in the morning, Taylor is already busy feeding their pets, especially their dog, which he feeds with human food taken from the fridge. Then Taylor accidentally looks up at the ceiling and secretly climbs into the attic, where it turns out he just wants to retrieve his father's old lighter. Meanwhile, Ramona is busy preparing herself to walk, unaware that her child has climbed up to the attic. Unfortunately, Ramona no longer has any battery left on her phone, and neither of her children has a phone either. After coming down, Ramona is shocked to find Annie nearly playing with a knife, and as a result, Taylor gets scolded for not watching over his little sister. On the other hand, Taylor continues to prepare food for both his sister and his mother. He understands how hard it is for his mother to walk, let alone prepare meals. During mealtime, not much happens between the three of them, and at first everything seems fine, until their dog starts vomiting. This turns out to be caused by the food Taylor gave it. Ramona only then realizes that Taylor had taken food from the fridge for the dog. As punishment, she tells Taylor to take the dog outside to sunbathe. Meanwhile, Ramona busies herself checking the mail, while Annie helps by doing the dishes. In one of the letters, Ramona receives condolences for the death of her husband. Suddenly, Annie calls out to her she had forgotten to turn off the water faucet because there was a mysterious figure outside. Yes, in front of their house somehow, there is a woman, or perhaps a man. Their identity is unclear, but they are entirely covered in black cloth. The three of them watch from inside the house, curious about what this person is doing. Ramona glances around anxiously, wondering if it's a thief. Meanwhile, Annie is excited and asks her mother for permission to approach the person. Naturally, Ramona does not give her permission and immediately tells Annie to stay close to her. On the other hand, Taylor was forced to watch as his mother stepped outside. Ramona wanted to find out who the mysterious woman was. The dog kept barking, signaling that something wasn't right. Inside the house, Taylor and Annie could only keep watch, while Ramona continued approaching the mysterious figure. The two children peeked through the window, hoping nothing would happen to their mother. Taylor did his best to comfort Annie, who was anxious seeing their mother go alone toward the figure. Step by step, Ramona moved closer, confused because the figure said nothing at all. Then, with another step, Ramona finally heard the figure speak. The mysterious figure said that Ramona was guilty of lying about her husband's death. Whatever that meant was unclear, but in front of Ramona's house, there was a wrecked car, looking like it had been in an accident. At this point, we learn that Ramona had lost her leg because of that very accident. Then suddenly, the figure revealed a blood-covered hand. Clearly panicked, Ramona listened as the figure once again insisted it had some kind of immense power. Ramona rushed away in fear, especially after seeing that all her chickens had suddenly died. It was now clear that what she was facing wasn't just a normal person. Taylor was confused, seeing his mother run, not back into the house, but toward the garage behind it. It turned out Ramona secretly intended to start the car and try to run the figure over, but unfortunately, the car wouldn't start at all, and her phone couldn't charge inside it either. Eventually, Ramona had no choice but to leave the garage again. Tragically, no one outside noticed that the mysterious figure was now targeting Ramona's dog, which was still barking non-stop. What the figure was planning to do was unclear, but it seemed misfortune was about to befall the poor animal. Ramona had no idea. She was still focused on trying to get the car to start again, though all her efforts were in vain. At this point, we see a large shadow moving around, but once again, the family remained unaware of it. In their panic, Taylor kept asking who the figure really was, but Ramona lied, saying it was a psychiatrist searching for her own identity. As if nothing had happened, Ramona invited her children to relax inside the house for a while. She gave Annie some ice cream, trying to keep her from being afraid. But everything changed after Taylor resisted, and Ramona exploded in anger. After her outburst, she felt guilty for losing her temper in front of her children. Taylor, on the other hand, just sulked and stayed quiet, still watching the mysterious figure closely, because deep down, he didn't trust his mother at all. But something was very strange. Every time they blinked, the figure was getting closer to their house. No one knew when it moved, but each time they looked away, it crept nearer. Clearly, something was wrong. A large shadow kept moving from the figure's direction toward their home. No one knew what it meant, but the tires on their already damaged car were suddenly deflated by the figure. There was definitely a truth that Ramona needed to uncover. Whether she was secretly hiding something or not, she remained curious about the figure. Then, out of nowhere, Ramona went outside again, challenging the figure while searching for her dog. Her dog was nowhere to be seen, completely vanished. The only thing left was the dog's chain, but the end of the chain led into the ground. It was obvious at this point. Ramona's dog had been buried alive by the figure. The innocent dog had disappeared without a trace. No body, nothing. At one point, the three of them were relaxing inside the house, waiting for the figure to disappear. But as a mother, Ramona became upset when Annie couldn't write the letter R. The R she wrote was backwards. At the same time, Ramona had secretly prepared a knife for protection, just in case the figure acted out. Unfortunately, instead of staying alert for the threat outside, Ramona took out her frustration on her children, on Taylor, who kept throwing a ball against the wall, and on Annie, who couldn't write the letter properly. Annie ended up being harshly scolded right then and there. Moments later, Ramona apologized, once again regretting her angry outburst. But the truth was, Ramona wasn't truly mad at Annie.
Be okay.
Taylor then pointed out that Annie was actually outside. Somehow, she had stepped on the broken glass from the cup Ramona had earlier smashed in anger. This moment revealed that Ramona was often experiencing hallucinations, which repeatedly harmed her children. She then tried to treat Annie's injury, apologizing and attempting to make things right as a mother. Meanwhile, Taylor was still wondering where his dog had gone. His mother gave no answers. Not only was his dog missing, but his chickens had all vanished too. Then, Taylor was startled again when the figure began calling his name. Taylor tried going to the garage, pretending he was looking for his dog, as if it might be hiding there, scared. But secretly, he had another plan, to escape using the car in the garage. However, he was unaware that the car wouldn't start at all. That's when Taylor was shocked the figure had suddenly disappeared. It was gone without a trace. At the same time, he was shown the wrecked car from his father's accident. Unexpectedly, after the mysterious figure vanished, Taylor felt something approaching him, and it turned out to be his mother. She was furious, yelling at Taylor for being in the garage and not caring about his sister's condition. It turned out that Taylor had also been hallucinating because the figure was still there, sitting in its chair, which was slowly but surely moving closer to their house. No one knew what the figure intended to do, but the day was nearing evening, and it was getting darker. After Annie's foot was treated, she could only watch from the window, while Taylor, being stubborn once again, deliberately took something that had been hidden by his father all along. Taylor retrieved a weapon, intending to act alone without Ramona's knowledge. At that moment, Ramona was in the bedroom looking for Annie. Unfortunately, it was already too late. Taylor had gone outside to confront the figure with the weapon. He cocked the gun and aimed it at the figure. As darkness fell, the figure began to reveal the truth, that their mother, Ramona, had been guilty in the death of their father. Then, the figure revealed itself more fully. It turned out to have a terrifying power, controlling and extending its shadow like a lasso, reaching toward its target. As the figure repeated their mother's guilt over and over, Taylor grew tired of listening. He went back inside to confront Ramona in her room and demanded the truth. Ramona was shocked. How could Taylor know all of that? Cornered, Ramona finally confessed, unaware that Annie was secretly listening in from outside the room. She explained that everything began one night during a big argument at a bar. Ramona and her husband had been in a fierce fight. Until now, Taylor and Annie had believed that their father died in a car crash while driving with Ramona as a passenger. But the truth was that Ramona had been the one driving, and their father was the passenger. Because she had lost control of her emotions during the argument, the fight continued in the car and she lost focus, crashing into a tree. That crash killed her husband. Unbeknownst to them, Annie was no longer eavesdropping on the story. She had wandered into the living room, unaware that a shadow was now following her. Even the doors were moving on their own. That was when the figure began to fully reveal itself and terrorize Annie. Her actions drew the attention of Taylor and Ramona, who ran to find her, but by then the figure was fully enraged. As night fell, the figure grew bolder and more violent. Its shadows extended, chasing and targeting its victims to trap them. The darker it got, the longer the shadows became. At this point, Taylor came to a critical realization. There must be no light at all or shadows will exist. So as a last resort, the three of them hid in the attic, locking themselves away, waiting in complete darkness until there were no shadows left inside the house. Unfortunately, Annie was pulled by the shadow of the mysterious figure through a small gap in the window, one that Taylor quickly closed. At that moment, night had fully arrived, and the house was plunged into complete darkness. Then, at some point, Ramona decided to go downstairs, accompanied by Taylor. Taylor gave her the lighter he had taken from the attic. Ramona asked to be left alone, while both children remained hidden in the attic above. Suddenly, the mysterious figure appeared in front of Ramona, telling her that she could no longer run from her mistakes. The figure demanded that Ramona take responsibility for her recklessness behind the wheel. Feeling like she had no other choice, Ramona reluctantly agreed to do as the figure asked. But before that, Ramona asked for permission to say goodbye to her children. Her final wish was granted. Ramona shared a last moment with Taylor and Annie. Then, immediately, she sent them away and entered the attic carrying a weapon. It was the same weapon the figure had been pushing her to use, on herself. Ramona was relentlessly pressured, the weapon in her hands being forced toward her own body. The figure's demand was clear. Then the inevitable seemed to happen. A single gunshot echoed from within the house. At first, we're led to believe that Ramona had taken her own life. But in a twist, it turns out she had used the gun to kill the mysterious figure instead. Somehow she managed to execute the entity, once again narrowly escaping death and shirking the responsibility she had long avoided in order to continue living with her children. As for who or what the mysterious figure really was, several possibilities remain. It could have been a supernatural being who had witnessed the exact moment of Ramona's husband's death, or it may have been a manifestation of Ramona's own grief and guilt, a physical embodiment of her sorrow, sent to force her to confront and atone for her regret by paying with her life. And that's it for the story series of this film. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to support this channel by subscribe, like and share. See you in the next video. Goodbye.